Act quickly when a transition is announced. Don't wait until the last minute. Visit approved exchange centers to convert old notes to new ones. Educate your friends and family so no one is caught off guard. Watch out for misinformation and scams. Where there's money involved, misinformation often follows. Unfortunately, many people fall victim to rumors and fraudulent schemes during these transitions. Social media platforms, chat rooms, and speculative forums frequently spread unverified information about revaluations and note exchanges. It's important to remain skeptical. Always cross-check what you hear with announcements from legitimate institutions like the Central Bank of Iraq, the International Monetary Fund, IMF, or global financial news outlets. Don't trust individuals or websites that promise insider information or guaranteed profits. Scams also become more common during times of financial uncertainty. Be cautious of fake currency dealers, guaranteed RV investment groups, unlicensed online exchanges, pressure sales tactics, revaluation, RV, hype versus reality. The term RV, or revaluation, refers to an official adjustment of a country's currency value, typically an increase. For years, there's been ongoing speculation about whether the Iraqi dinar or the Vietnamese dong will experience a major revaluation. Proponents of this theory argue that Iraq, given its vast oil reserves and improving political situation, is on the brink of revaluing its currency significantly higher. This would mean that people holding dinar would suddenly find their holdings worth much more in dollar terms. While the idea is exciting, it's essential to approach it with realism. As of now, there is no confirmed timeline or announcement from any credible financial body that an RV is imminent. What influences currency value? Currency values are not arbitrary. They're influenced by a complex web of factors including inflation rates, interest rates, foreign exchange reserves, trade balance, political stability, monetary policy, investor confidence. While passing Iraq's hydrocarbon law or national budget can positively impact the economy, these events alone won't trigger an RV. A comprehensive shift in economic fundamentals would be needed to justify a revaluation. That's why it's critical to look at the bigger picture rather than banking on a single event. Budget approval doesn't guarantee RV. Some people believe that once Iraq's annual budget is passed, a currency revaluation is inevitable. That's not accurate. A budget is essentially a spending plan outlining where the government will allocate resources. While it's a good sign of fiscal planning, it doesn't directly dictate the exchange rate. Iraq has passed several budgets in the past without any movement in the dinar's value. Therefore, expecting the RV to coincide with budget approval sets unrealistic expectations. How to approach currency investments? Wisely. If you hold Iraqi dinar or Vietnamese dong, or are considering such an investment, it's crucial to approach it as a long-term, high-risk venture rather than a guaranteed payday. Here are a few smart strategies. Diversify your portfolio to include stocks, real estate, commodities, and other currencies. Stay informed about global economics, not just Iraq or Vietnam. Don't invest more than you can afford to lose. Work with regulated financial advisors when managing foreign currency investments. Focus on building financial literacy so you can distinguish between legitimate opportunities and hype. Looking ahead, what's the future of the dinar and dong? Both Iraq and Vietnam have the potential to emerge as strong economies, but the road is long and requires patience. Iraq continues to work on political stability, rebuilding infrastructure, and improving governance. Vietnam is advancing as a manufacturing hub and attracting foreign investment. Currency reform, if and when it happens, will likely be part of broader economic plans, not a standalone miracle. As global markets evolve, staying educated and grounded will serve you far better than chasing get-rich-quick schemes. Final thoughts. Stay ready, stay informed. The prospect of currency changes, whether it's removing zeros or a possible revaluation, can be exciting, but it also comes with risk. The best way to protect your investment and your peace of mind is to remain alert, informed, and realistic. Always validate information through official channels. Watch out for misleading posts and false promises. And most importantly, think long-term. Real financial stability comes not from sudden windfalls, but from smart planning, ongoing education, and diversified investments. If you found this article useful, feel free to share it with others who are following these developments. Your awareness could help someone else avoid costly mistakes. Thanks for reading, and keep an eye on the horizon. Economic change doesn't always. Understanding the future of the Iraqi dinar and Vietnamese dong. Entitlements, currency reform, and revaluation speculation. As global attention continues to focus on economic shifts and emerging markets, two currencies often dominate conversations among investors and economists. The Iraqi dinar, IQD, and the Vietnamese dong, VND. While both nations have rich histories and untapped economic potential, much of the discourse centers on the possibility of financial reforms and how these changes could impact local citizens and foreign investors alike. Today we'll explore a wide range of issues, from national entitlements in Iraq and the implications of the so-called hydrocarbon law, to the mechanics and myths surrounding currency revaluations and the potential removal of zeros from banknotes. Whether you're an investor, a citizen, or simply curious about international economics, this article provides insight and practical knowledge. Iraq's national entitlements, a constitutional promise. One of the most critical discussions unfolding in Iraq today revolves around national entitlements, an embedded right in the country's constitution that guarantees Iraqis a share of their country's revenue. This is not just limited to oil, though petroleum does form the cornerstone of Iraq's economy. The principle extends to non-oil income sources such as taxes, customs, agriculture, tourism, and more. Over the years, there's been a persistent gap between what citizens are promised and what they actually receive. Salaries, pensions, subsidies, and other social welfare benefits have often been delayed or inconsistently paid. However, the government has recently signaled a renewed focus on fulfilling these obligations. At the heart of this discussion is the hydrocarbon law, a crucial piece of legislation designed to regulate how oil and gas revenues are managed and distributed. Although some mistakenly refer to it as hydrogen chloride, its actual intent is far from chemistry. It's economic justice. If implemented fully, this law could ensure that every Iraqi has a stake in the nation's most lucrative resource, potentially lifting millions out of poverty. What national entitlements include? To break it down, national entitlements are essentially public benefits derived from state revenue. These include timely payment of salaries to government employees and public sector workers, profit-sharing mechanisms from oil and gas production, subsidies for basic goods and services, investments in healthcare, infrastructure, education, and other public services, improved purchasing power through economic stabilization. In essence, the idea is that Iraq's wealth should not remain in the hands of a few elites or foreign corporations. Instead, it should filter down to everyday citizens, thereby improving quality of life and boosting consumer spending, which in turn supports long-term economic growth. The potential removal of zeros, what it means, and why it matters. One of the most talked about financial reforms in Iraq is the proposed removal of 3 zeros from the dinar. This is not a novel idea. Countries like Turkey, Zimbabwe, and Argentina have implemented similar measures in the past. But what does this mean in practical terms? Let's say you currently have a 10,000 Iraqi dinar banknote. If Iraq proceeds with a redenomination plan, that note could be replaced with a new 10 IQD note. The process doesn't necessarily mean you're losing money. Rather, it's a method to simplify the currency system, restore confidence in the financial system, and reduce the complexities involved in everyday transactions. Reasons for redenomination. There are multiple reasons why a country might choose to slash zeros from its currency. 1. Combat inflation. Large denominations often reflect years of inflation. Removing zeros can signal a return to economic stability. 2. Ease of use. Transactions become simpler for both consumers and businesses. 3. Public confidence. A redenominated currency can help restore trust in financial institutions. 4. Modernization. Updating the currency system is often part of broader monetary reform. Turkey's 2005 reform is often cited as a successful example. The Turkish lira underwent a swift transition, with old notes being phased out within weeks. The new lira was introduced with smaller denominations, cleaner design, and renewed confidence. How the process might unfold in Iraq. Should Iraq decide to move forward with this policy, citizens will likely be given a grace period during which both old and new notes are accepted. After that, old notes could become obsolete. That's why it's critical for anyone holding large quantities of dinar, whether in Iraq or abroad, to monitor official communications closely. Steps you should consider. Stay informed through the Central Bank of Iraq and other official sources. Inventory your currency holdings so you know what you have and where,